Hamish Downey. I'm very curious as to your thoughts on companies and cult-like behavior. A few years ago, I worked for an organization which had some cult-like tendencies, and one of the biggest things that has helped me is actually watching ex-Scientology videos to help me understand my feelings about that company. Okay, I've never worked in the corporate sector where I can talk with personal experience about what happens there. And I'm not saying in this answer that all corporations do this or are like this by any stretch. But I do know from what I have seen and read and heard from other people that there are individuals in certain companies, right, either at the head of the company, who themselves believe that their company needs to be run kind of like a cult. Or there are people who come into these companies, Fortune 500 companies often, who sell the executives on some kind of training package or some kind of seminar work that they're going to do with their employees in order to make them more efficient, more loyal, better teammates, better team members, that sort of thing. And they sell some package to the company executives that they'll come in and do this work with all their employees, and that work tends to be pushing cult-like methods on the company, right? And the way that you know that that sort of thing is going on, because I'm not saying here that all team building exercises are, going to end up in destructive cult behavior, or that it's a bad thing to try to get people more efficient. That's not my point. It's judging based on the result and on what methods are being used. And some of these companies fall for techniques that are cult-like techniques. In fact, one point I should make here also is groups like Scientology have a whole division that is trying overtly to infiltrate companies like Fortune 500 companies and get Scientology techniques into the company. So, and I can't imagine that Scientology is the only destructive cult that's doing that. So if Scientology can come in and the Scientologists are dressed in business suits and have these very, upscale looking promotional pieces that don't say Scientology anywhere on them. They say they're called WISE, the World Institute of Scientology Enterprises, and their management technology is called Hubbard Management Technology. It's not called Scientology. So somebody who doesn't know anything about L. Ron Hubbard could get the idea that this is, that what's being given to them has nothing to do with Scientology, when in fact it's 100% pure Scientology. So that can happen. So now, in terms of the techniques that are used, what you're looking for, I made some notes on this, and basically, when you create a culture within the corporation or the company where the company is the most important thing that's going on in the lives of all of the people who are in it, you should start looking out, because that's where your priorities are starting to get kind of whacked. When an employee's, there's always going to be instances where somebody's going to have to put in some overtime or something like that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about where, the guy has a vacation with his wife planned, and then, and it all looks good, and then suddenly, oh yeah, no, sorry, and then if the wife gets a little upset about it, the guy's boss is going, dude, you better get your wife straightened out, because, this company is way more important than that, than that situation, right, with your upset wife. When you start seeing that kind of environment being created, or that kind of attitude being pushed by the corporate execs or the corporate, staff, then that's where things are going in a very, very culty direction. Also where company environment or the culture is like getting rid of any other distractions besides the company. And the first thing I think of here is Google. Now, I'm not saying Google is a destructive cult, but I did find it fascinating that they created an environment in the Google headquarters that you never had to leave. They had places you could go sleep, places you could eat, places you could go play some table tennis take a break or something, right? But you never left the grounds. You are always working or living at Google. I thought that was the weirdest thing I'd ever heard of. And yet that's, that's kind of this environment that's being created there, right? And I thought, whoa, that's not so good, right? And finally, if there are instances where the company starts testing their employees in terms of their allegiance to the company, right? They start putting conditions down or start putting, job requirements down or something where you have to show that the company is really like what's number one in your life, right? And your kid's soccer practice or your wife's parents coming over or anything else outside of the company, yeah, no, right? So that, again, that's the sort of thing to look out for with that, where you might start seeing companies as cults. There you go.